So what we did up to here, if you do it by yourself, it might take you like whatever, 7 minutes. From now on, ideally, this would be the preliminary of your practices. Like if you are like, so, we're approaching the end of our sessions, and then we'll take a break. And so for whomever wants to continue practicing, you can always contact me, obviously. But so we arrive, which is just basically the introduction to the motivation. Then we have the motivation. Then we have the centering purification breath. You can do a simple healing smile integrated there. You do the mantra, and then you take a minute. And now you can move into whatever main practice you're doing. That is going to be the practice that you're going to put a timer and do for whatever, 15, 20, 30 minutes, whatever it is. From the main practices, okay, just maybe to mention this now, obviously, the observing the breath is a main practice. The one that we are going to do now today, this is, I would say, one of the most important practices in this book. Maybe I say the same thing about every practice. No, here in the first chapter, for example, breathing the breath of life, and the practice we're doing today is very, very similar. Okay, what changes is a bit our object of focus, which one of them is just the sensation of the breath and the sensation of us breathing. The practice we're going to do today is very specific into feeling the actual sound of the breath, which sometimes is very, very almost not present. Sometimes there's like a gentle, a vibration, and this is very connected to our ability to transform all seated patterns and all what we would call traumas or something. Okay, we'll talk about that in a moment. Another very important practice very important, that could be a main practice, is the 3 alignments, which is in page 49. Breathing in, my mind is calm, breathing out, my body is relaxed. These are all main practices, resting in the narrow gates, the body of space. And obviously you could take the healing smile also as a main practice. I hope that's clear. And if not, just do whatever you want. You're totally free. I'm sure most of you are already doing whatever you want, and I think that's very healthy. So, yesterday I got, I should have brought it down. My music teacher, which, is very, very patient and comes from Ashish Sankritayan is his name. He is from Bhopal, from India, and comes from a tradition where, people started being trained at the age of 3 to 5. It was a family that before the British arrived to India, it was a very wide family of, different branches within the family, but the lights are, everything of that is explained in the page you'll print is there, but blue is in the heart, red is in the throat, white is in the center of the head. So anyway, the way these people were trained, the training for before somebody could go out to perform, in this Drupad is called, the Dagar tradition of Drupad. It would take about 20 years of 8 to 10, 12 hours a day of training. Okay? Very classical, old school training. And the training was completely systematic. There was no, a lot of it is improvised, but you don't improvise just randomly. You improvise after years of very specific learning a structure, learning very specific elements within a paradigm of music, within a paradigm of understanding what music is, how vibration relates to one's consciousness. So it's a whole very complicated system. Okay, so obviously, that doesn't go very well with our Western world, where things are very fast. This kind of training is not very practical. And the same thing happens with our meditation practices. A lot of these practices that are being shared nowadays, traditionally they were shared on a context where the student, since he was a little child, or since a very young age, maybe a teenager or something, 14, something like this, moved with the teacher and went through a process that was 24/7. There was no, there was no compromise there. So the practices that we are using are practices that are meant to give specific results. And this is one of the beautiful things in this book that Ashish has published. Is like a very thick book, must be like 700-800 pages with there's hundreds and hundreds of pictures. It's very well researched, and the summary of this, it points out to this incredible tradition of music that dates back to the Vedas, the relationship of how actually Vedic chants evolve into a system of music, and how in the modern world, even though there's some people who still use that system, because that kind of training is not present, you obviously cannot get the same results. Okay, so this goes back to, you can, in your practice, you can do anything you want because you are free and your practice is for you. And yet, if you want to attempt to achieve the results that the tradition says that are possible, you might want to consider what your teacher is telling you to do, and put in the time and put in the, follow the structure, because every single element is meant to develop an intricacy of relationships within energy, consciousness, and the physical form, within our being. And once more, this idea of waking up from this dream of separateness is for real. This is not like something we do. This is I do. It's like people who say, I do meditation because it helps me relax. Yeah, of course, helps you relax. But I guarantee you that the purpose of meditation by no means is to relax. Relaxation will happen as a byproduct, but most people, when they relax, after that they fall asleep. So you go from stress to relax to the sleep of ignorance. So it has not been transformation. So the purpose of these practices is to lead you to a complete and total awakening, like a complete liberation. There's no second goal. Okay. Now, there's many benefits that occur from the practices. Yeah, of course, and one of them is relaxation and healing, but here in the context where healing is being used, and this is very clearly explained in the fourth part of the healing smile, it's to help you recognize, get habituated, and stabilize this experience of awakening. So if that's something that interests you, then whatever the teacher, you have a sense that has a grasp of this and that is presenting a structure, that should be followed. Okay, so just a reflection, and I'm actually talking to myself. I'm seeing myself in the screen. You think I'm talking to you, or I'm talking to me, because that's what I'm seeing on the screen. So I'm talking to myself. Our 9 months of practice are approaching, and to the best of our ability, we do the best we can. But I think it's my responsibility not so much to share the practices, because even with one of these single practices, you could, if you dedicate, yourself to it, you could attain the result. But I think my responsibility is to make sure that this reminder, that this is for real. This is for real. So to get the real, to get that potential, and this is for real, and it's possible right now, but to attain that kind of thing, it requires that kind of dedication. So that's just a reminder to myself, by myself.